Welcome to Introduction to Sapling. In this video you'll turn on the Sapling add-on. You'll learn the fundamentals of Sapling, understand to save before using Sapling, and we'll see why, and learn how to prevent Blender from crashing when using Sapling. Let's go explore Sapling now over in Blender. So the first thing that we need to go and do now is make sure that Sapling is turned on. So you'll find that under File, User Preferences, and go to the Add-ons tab. Now we can search for it, in fact it's here, Add Curve Sapling, we don't need to search for it. I've already got it turned on. If you haven't, please put a tick in this box and save your user settings. Excellent, now that Sapling's turned on, we can go and explore with it. So, first of all, so we don't muck around with our current Blender file, the bunny that we're working on, let's go explore the Sapling add-on in a brand new Blender file. It'll also make sure everything's nice and smooth for us and nothing else is slowing us down. So I'm going to make sure I've saved my fluffy bunny and hop over into a brand new Blender file. Excellent, so now that we're in a brand new Blender file, we can go ahead and add our first tree. So first of all, let's get rid of our cube. Now the Sapling add-on itself is located under the curve, so you can go add curve and add tree, or shift and A, curve, add tree. And it will add a tree for us, but not quite there yet. Let's go in and see what else we can do. Okay, so I've expanded the operation panel, or the operator panel, in the lower left hand corner here, so we can play with some of these settings. Now we're not going to go into great detail at this point in the course regarding Sapling, but do have a play about it. It's a wonderfully addictive tool for making some wonderful trees and other plants as well. So we're going to start on the geometry tab and look at the branch splitting and branch growth. We're not going to do the leaves or anything else for the moment, we're just going to deal with these three sections and a very brief overview of them. So geometry, if we turn the bevel on, we can see that our tree becomes three-dimensional, which is a great start, and the bevel resolution determines how many faces this is going to have. Now, at the moment it's got 4, I presume this is now 5, 6, 7, etc. But what you can see is as these increase, the number of triangles also goes up, so the higher the resolution of the tree, the more efforts you're going to have to put into rendering it as well. The curve resolution doesn't make a difference when it's on vector, however when it's on auto, this curve resolution has a huge difference and it basically controls its pan up here. With the curve resolution set to 1, you can see that these are really jagged, but as we turn this up they get smoother and smoother. But of course that adds more geometry as well. Random seed, well, as it sounds, it starts the tree off in different ways. A great way of getting a good starting point. In fact, I quite like that one there, it kind of wiggles along, that's a great start. Ratio, well this is the ratio of the trunk size, so that looks more like a dragon's tail or something out of World of Warcraft of days gone by. To be quite honest, I can't see that being a tree, it could be some alien plant though. Your imagination can run wild with that, but I'm going to knock that back down. Scale of the tree is how high it is, so obviously you can make it a whopping great big tree or a tiny tree. But I'm going to make it a bit smaller so it just fits on the screen so we can see the whole tree. Scale variation, well the variation in the tree scale, so we can turn that up and down and it will make another difference. Radius scale, well this is going to change the size of the trunk itself. And we want to set that back, there we go, and the variation, we'll change the variation on that. So going on to the branch splitting, this is where you need to be careful. I can't stress it enough that you will lock Blender up at some point whilst playing with this. So if you're working in a file before you play with Sapling, please save. Otherwise there's a good chance that you'll get fed up waiting and will have to quit the program and start it again. So levels here. Now these levels going from 1, 2, 3 and will 4 lock up my computer? It might do. It'd be a great example, wouldn't it, of how not to lock up your 50. Okay, I am able to go 4. In general, you probably don't need to go any more than 3, so I'm going to leave it on 2 for the moment, so we can see what's going on. Now, branches at the moment 0 is absolutely fine here. If we turn this up, it's not going to do anything at this moment in time. The next one means off of this main trunk, there are now 50 branches. On the third layer down, so 1, 2, 3, where it says 30, it means for every one of these 50 there are 30, and finally the fourth layer, every one of those attached to those, there's going to be 10. Now you can see very quickly, because these are multiplied up, you only need to change one of the lower figures to have a huge impact further down the line, and that's one of those things that will cost you dearly if you go too high. And trust me, I've done it accidentally. You're just moving the figure and it just goes too high, and the system decides to... It's not crashing, it's just going to take ages to calculate the new geometry. Segment splits are very similar to branches. However, let's just lower these down so it limits my chance of crashing. So we've got 10 branches that are producing 10 branches, and that are producing 10 branches. So there we go, we've got a series of branches going off there. Now the segment splits, they split the branches themselves, but they don't alter these numbers here. So if you split up some of these branches, well, it looks a bit funky at the moment, and I don't think we're going to be able to count them because there's far too many of them now. Let's drop back down a couple of levels. In fact, let's drop down to just level 2 so we can see what's going on. So we've got 10 branches coming off of here. Well, it doesn't quite look 10 branches, but that's what it says. We've got 10 branches coming off of here. Now if we split this first level, we still only have 10 branches coming off of it. It just splits the first level. So it's a great way of adding detail without having to add a load more branches, because you're just splitting branches that already exist. One of the useful things, I'm just going to turn up the number here again so we can see some more tree basically, is the base size, and that determines where the actual branches start from. At 0, or close to 0 anyway, the branches themselves, well, they start towards the bottom of the tree, so that there looks much more like a Christmas time tree, a fir tree. And of course up the top here, a couple of trees that look like that, well, not look like this, but a couple of ones that are like this, acacia trees and things like that. So there's a lots of different types of tree that you can emulate using this. And I would encourage you to play with the split angle variation and all of these things here, and you'll soon see that you can make your tree that was once facing upwards droop down and have some really weird effects going on with it there. Okay, let's move on to the final section here, the branch growth. Now this is where you can really change the dynamic of the tree, and you can have a, let's say, a shorter stump just here. Now all of these are relative to the one above as well, so it's very important to realise that 0.5 and 0.5, well, that's half of it was before, but 0.5 and 1, both of these are now the same length, and 0.5 and 2 means that the actual all these branches are twice as long as the original stump itself. Vertical attraction, well, it simply changes their vertical attraction. It literally, oh, look, that is quite awesome. Sorry, I've not done that before. That is quite alien. It's hypnotic. Okay, that basically pulls them vertically, and of course when they've gone over vertical, it looks like it wraps it round again and then pulls them back up. So very cool. And again, we've got lots of other things that we can work on down here. In general, I don't bother changing the curve resolution, but as you saw earlier, it changes the detail level of the curves, and it can actually change the appearance of the tree quite dramatically. So, do play with these sections here, and there are a couple of things that I want to show you now that you can actually make. I've made two things. I've made a tree and I've made a little bush with flowers on, just to show you how versatile a sapling can be. So here we have the little bush that I've made with some green leaves on it. I modelled these leaves very quickly using a plane and subdividing it and colouring it in green essentially. And the flowers, well, they're in the nature pack. I basically just attached them to the vertices at the end of sapling once it was made. And of course, sapling's more known for its ability to generate a tree, and here we have a tree in some grassland. So you can see the power of it, and now I've got a challenge for you guys. I would like you to create a flowering bush. So use sapling to create a bush-like plant, create a basic leaf to use on our bush, convert the sapling curve into a mesh object, using weight painting and vertex groups to add flowers to the tips and leaves to the bush. Then we're going to use geometry to make the flowers 3D. We're going to make sure that all of your objects have an appropriate material assigned to them, and just a reminder to save before making any changes in sapling to prevent the loss of data, just in case you make one change and it causes Blender to crash. So go ahead and plan out the bush you're going to make, have an idea in your head of what it's going to look like as well, and now pause the video and give that a go. Okay guys, welcome back. Let's go create a flowering bush over in Blender. Okay, so I've hopped straight on over into my fluffy bunny, and I'm going to create a new layer here that I'm going to create my bush on. So let's go ahead and add the sapling, and it looks like my cursor was just a little bit away, and I'm just going to move the lock camera off. Now I've got just about 8 minutes to make this in this video, so wish me luck. I'm going to add a bevel to it. I'm going to make it a much smaller tree, about 1 in height. Perfect. Right, or in fact it's going to be a bush. So let's go and do some branch growth. Let's get the first one 1, the second one 0.9. Excellent. Now there's too many branches there, so let's come back to splits. Let's reduce that a little. That's good. Base size, let's drop it down just a little. So it's nice and spread out. That is looking pretty good. Okay, so there's lots of different ways you could go about doing this. I don't want to make it too complicated. That's probably going to be complicated enough actually. So I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to shorten the arm length just a little. So let's go to branch growth. Let's bring that one down and this one up slightly. Excellent. So now we've got those there. I'm going to keep that as my base because I'm quite happy with that. So let's go ahead and convert that. So let's go and find it in here. We've got our tree. I'm going to rename that bush to be consistent, and I'm going to convert that to a mesh object. Brilliant. I'm going to give that mesh object a material. I'm going to call it bark, and I'm going to set that bark color just to a diffuse sort of dark brown so it stands out. Okay, we need to go ahead and create our flower and our leaf. Now I'm going to create those on another layer. So first of all, let's create the leaf. So I'm going to do that as a very basic leaf. I'm going to get myself a plane here, and I'm going to subdivide it a couple of times so I've got some geometry to work with. Now that I've subdivided it, I'm going to make sure I'm in proportional editing mode. I'm literally going to start grabbing bits and pulling them about to try and create a general leaf shape, give or take. Okay, that's there. Let's try this way. Okay, and there we go. So I'm quite happy with that rough shape there. I'm just going to twist the leaf ever so slightly, give it a bit more of a dynamic feel. There we go. So we've got a leaf there. Perfect. The final thing I'm going to do on here is I'm going to add a subsurface division modifier just to smooth the leaf out. And I'm going to place the origin on the end of the leaf, otherwise it will stick in the middle of our branches when we try and put it on. Origin's a 3D cursor. Perfect, so that's that one done. It's a huge leaf, but we can deal with that in a bit. Now we need to bring it in our flower. So Let's add a mesh image as planes. Go and find a flower. Now, which one shall I pick? I'm going to pick this blue one. I do like it, and I'm going to use the alpha channel that I've set up that already. Diffuse and transparent. Import. Excellent. Let's just focus on that particular. There we go. Let's go into edit mode and subdivide that twice. And that's going to give us some extra geometry on that plane, which should allow us to just pull this down with proportional editing again turned on and make ourselves a bit more of a 3D flower. Don't want it to have a trumpet that's too big. That's perfect. And finally, I'm going to move the 3D cursor to selected with Shift and S, and then I'm going to hop into object mode and set the origin to the 3D cursor. So again, the flowers are mounted on the right point. Now we've got all that, we just need to assign ourselves our vertex groups. So let's hop into edit mode on this bush and the object data over here. Let's add a vertex group called flowers and hop into edit mode with the bush selected. I'm going to make sure that I've not got any duplicate vertices going on there by removing doubles. Yes, 51 of them were removed, so I'm glad I gave that a go. And I want flowers to basically appear on the end of all of these. Now it looks like I've picked quite a few. Of course, it doesn't need to be every single one, but me being me, I'm going to pick every single one anyway. That looks good. So I'm going to add a vertex group called flowers. I'm sure I did that a moment ago, and I'm just going to assign those to them. Right, we're going to lock that group so I can't muck around with it. We're going to add one called leaves, and that's basically going to be the rest of our model with the flowers deselected. Perfect. And now let's go to leaves, click assign, and not lock it just yet. I'm going to go into weight paint mode and just remove. We've got everything painted red there bar the tips. I'm just going to go in and scroll up here, go to subtract and remove it from the very bottom, because I do not want leaves coming out to the bottom of the plant. There we go, that should be good. I'm going to lock it. Let's go into the particle effects and make sure that we are on the bush. We are. I'm going to add flowers first of all, and I'm going to add leaves as well. So flowers is going to be hair type, and it's going to come from, let's scroll down here, density, the flower section should all come from the ends. I'm going to only have, 50 flowers coming on there. We'll set the object to the blue flower. Excellent. Now I could play about with rotations, but I don't think I have time to do that, so I'm going to leave it as it is for the moment. And then on here, on the leaves, again it's a type hair. Object is going to be our, oh, did I name it? It's probably still plain. I can't scroll down, there we go. Plain, yep, those are the leaves. We're going to have to make them a little bit smaller. Oh, actually that's worked out quite well. Now they're a bit too uniform across there. I'm actually going to turn on rendered mode to see what happens, and they've not got a material assigned to them, so let's go assign a material. Of course you can probably guess what I'm going to do. I'm going to assign it a green, so it's a little bit darker, and there we go. And I think all we need to do to this, have we got any children assigned? Let's go back to the bush, scroll down here. No, we haven't got any children assigned, so we can't apply any randomness. So I'm going to drop this down to about 200. Well, that looks much better straight away. I'm going to pop a couple of children on and change the randomness of the end point. That should twist them round ever so slightly. Oh, we don't want to do that. That's looking pretty good. Let's see how that looks in context by switching on the ground plane as well. So in layers, layer management, can't see, grass, that's the other one. There we go. So that's starting to look pretty good. Let's render that out. Yeah, that looks okay. I could certainly work on it a bit longer to make it a bit neater, but that's a good start. How did you guys get on? I'd love to see what foliage you came up with. Please share yours in the discussion, even if you make a couple different varieties, and I will see you guys in the next lecture.